Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Pregame Show brought to you by our friends over at BetUS. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is my fellow colleague at PewterReport.com and the face that runs the place, SR Scott Reynolds. We're going to preview Bucs versus Saints. And Scott, feels like a while since the Bucs have played. And we just got some late news in the morning this morning that help is on the way in other positions that we have only touched the surface on during this week.
Yeah, for sure. The good news for Tampa Bay is that Antoine Winfield Jr. is going to play. So that has been confirmed by Pewter Report. And that's welcome news because he had one heck of a game in New Orleans last year, Matt.
Yeah.
Forced a key fumble right before halftime that led to points for Tampa Bay, had a sack of Derek Carr in that game. And Tampa Bay really has missed him all the way around. This is a player that has the ability to affect the offense for opposing teams in a multitude of ways, whether it's rushing the passer from the slot, which Todd Bowles has certainly missed, as well as making those touchdown-saving tackles as the last line of defense at the safety position, coming up and supporting the run and stuffing it at near or at the line of scrimmage. And then, of course, taking the ball away. That's something he did exceptionally well last year. Led the team with interceptions, 6 forced fumbles to lead the league, 4 fumble recoveries. So not only will Antoine Winfield Jr. play, but his partner in crime back there, Jordan Whitehead, also a go today. So that's some really good news for Tampa Bay, who also gets back Elijah Cansey to help their pass rush. I'm not going to say not that they didn't need it, because all of a sudden Logan Hall has decided to play NFL football and really produce some big-time plays with 3 sacks to lead the team. Vita Vea also has 2. Those have come, Matt, in the last 2 games to provide some interior pass rush. And as we talked about on Friday's podcast, there's nothing worse for any quarterback, whether you are a veteran like Kirk Cousins or whether you are a rookie getting his first start like Spencer Rattler today for the Saints. Nobody likes pressure up the middle in their face. And now the Buccaneers have not only Logan Hall and Vita Vea to get after Spencer Rattler with, but also Elijah Cansey returns.
It kind of feels like the Avengers are assembling for the Bucs.
I love that.
Specifically on the defensive side of the football, with Elijah Cansey coming back. And man, it's a nice extra bonus knowing not that just Antoine Winfield Jr. is back, but that Jordan Whitehead is going to play. So you get the tandem, you get the duo of Antoine Winfield Jr. and Jordan Whitehead, which was, a big reason why the Bucs wanted Jordan Whitehead back this offseason, so they could match him with Antoine Winfield Jr. again. And don't get me wrong, having Antoine Winfield Jr. is a fantastic thing, but it takes it a little bit out of it if it was going to be Winfield and Christian Izien or Winfield and Kayvon Merriweather versus Winfield and having Jordan Whitehead. And the cherry on top, as you kind of already mentioned, going up against Spencer Rattler, a team that has had its ups and downs against rookie quarterbacks, but now you're facing a rookie quarterback with Winfield, with Whitehead, with Elijah Cansey. Besides the Bucs trying to figure out what they want to do with KJ Britt, they got the pieces together on the defensive side, and after allowing over 500 passing yards and 36 points in their last game, I feel like this is going to be a defense today that is foaming out at the mouth to kind of show the world that what they put on display on a national stage on last Thursday, that's not indicative of what this defense can do. So very excited to have those guys playing today.
Yeah, and one thing we can confirm at Pewter Report as well is that the team will be without Rachaad White today. He is going to be inactive. If you go back to that Falcons game right at the very end, I think it was his last carry on first down on the very last possession. He got his ankle rolled up on, and then he stayed in the game to catch that pass, but was tackled for no yards on that particular play. So they'll be without Rachaad White. One thing that we do know is that Sean Tucker is going to be getting some carries as well. Bucky Irving is going to start the game. and get his first NFL start. But Sean Tucker will be running back number 2 for the team. The team also activated DJ Williams. That was one of those practice squad elevations yesterday, along with Ryan Miller. No surprise there. The team needed another wide receiver with Cam Johnson out, and also Trey Palmer out as well. It'd be interesting to see who returns punts today. Maybe Sean Tucker, maybe Jalen McMillan, if McMillan ends up playing. But like you said on Friday's show, Matt, and I thought it was a very apropos comment. It seems like whack-a-mole with these injuries. You get Lou Gedeke back, you get Kalijah Kancey back, you lose Rashad White, Trey Palmer still not playing. So it's kind of some give and take here for the Buccaneers with this injury bug that just will not stop biting this team. And I'll say this, not only does Tampa Bay want to get this win today, but they want to start building some momentum and not having to keep this revolving door on their roster going. The team lost Marquise Watts, for example. He's on the injured reserve list. I did hear that he will be in play for later this year. It was not season ending, so that is some good news. But and Ernest Brown's going to be coming back, not today, but he'll be back. So there will be some reinforcements in the trenches there. But Matt, this team's got to find a way to stay healthy and then start having more guys come back to the roster healthy, so they can be as close to 100% as possible, because this is really kind of this gauntlet run we talked about when the Buccaneers schedule came out, Matt. Not to look too far ahead, right? But I mean, there's some serious games coming up here. Today is very serious, it being a division game, but you've got some playoff caliber teams, starting with the Baltimore Ravens up next for the Buccaneers on Monday Night Football at Ray J next week.
Yeah, those aren't just big games. They're big games against teams that seem to be finding their footing, right? The Ravens struggled out of the gate, but they've won their past couple of games. The 49ers, put up a lot of points on their Thursday night game. Mm-hmm. So those teams are hitting their stride. But as it pertains to today's game and kind of what's going on, it's great that Luke Gedeke's back, but at the same time, like we talked about with the whack-a-mole, Graham Barton. But I'm very excited. First of all, Q's 44. Very happy for you. Yeah. This one's for you with Sean Tucker. And while yes, everything about the injuries is unfortunate with who's not playing, I'm kind of take a positive look at this, a silver lining thing of I'm excited for Sean Tucker. I mean, this is a guy, Scott, that we didn't know was going to make the team this year based on comments by the coaches and the front office. In the offseason, he really needed to improve his game in order just to make this team, let alone get some opportunities at running back. And he's getting them because Rashad White is hurt. But this is a good situation for Sean Tucker as well if he plays well, maybe that could earn him a couple of, snaps and reps, even when Rashad White comes back. And also it kind of puts the third down running back up for grabs as well, because with Rashad White not playing, you got to think moving forward, the Bucs may try to limit his reps a little bit. They're still going to use him a bunch, but if he's already missed a game, they say, wow, well, Sean Tucker looked great in his opportunity to play on third down and pass block and stuff like that. That may persuade the Bucs to kind of use him a little bit more in a third down role. The one thing we talked about is how great Rashad White is as a pass blocking running back, and of course as a receiver as well as a running back. Can Bucky Irving do that today? Can Sean Tucker do that today? We will find out, but it's a very exciting opportunity for Sean Tucker, and I'm happy for him because he's really worked hard for it.
Yeah, I am too, and I don't know how much playing time he's going to get because obviously he doesn't have any NFL experience. But having DJ Williams is a little bit of a different dimension. He will be up probably playing mostly in special teams, but he's a bigger body. He's got some size to him, right? About 230 pounds. This was that touchdown run that you and I saw live and in person against the Jacksonville Jaguars. It was called back due to a penalty. Yeah. But once this guy gets moving in the open field, he's a load to bring down. So right now, Tampa Bay's running back situation, and we'll see if maybe he gets put in the game to be a pass protector. If smallish Bucky Irving or Sean Tucker, who's not a small guy, he's kind of rocked up. But not as big as Rashad White. But it'll be interesting to see if he has any role today on offense for the Buccaneers. We have some really good matchups to get to. But first, we want to tell you about today's sponsor, and the sponsor for the Pewter Pregame show is BetUS. And make sure that when you do your sports book and your online gaming, you do it at BetUS, and you can use the promo code Pewter, Pewter, to receive a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. Not just your first one, but your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. Matt, I like to do this little thing sometimes where it's called Don't Disappoint Scott. And I did that last night. I bet on Colorado to beat my Kansas State Wildcats because there was, they were a home underdog. And if my Wildcats were going to lose on ESPN at the late game, that's why I'm so tired this morning. If they were going to lose in that late game, damn it, I was going to make some money. And so I was happy that my Wildcats ended up winning the game. But had they lost, I would have won about $100. So it was money well spent for me to see my Wildcats win. But the best thing is they've got all sorts of prop bets. They've got money line. You've got the point spread. And let's take a look at today's point spread from BetUS. The Buccaneers are the favorites, 3.5 points. Matt, what are your thoughts on this? Is this really because the change of quarterback? Usually, you get a little bit of a home field advantage if you were the home team, right? If you have 2 opponents that are equal in terms of their record or their perceived strength. But Spencer Rattler probably changes this line a lot for the Bucs and the Saints, does he not?
Yeah, it has to, because it's kind of rare in today's day and age, especially with the teams the caliber of the Bucs and the Saints, that you have a road team being such a big favorite at 3.5 points. I'm actually surprised it didn't move up another point or two when it was confirmed that Spencer Rattler was going to be starting at quarterback for the Saints today. But yeah, 3.5 sounds right. The over, I think, over under was at 41.5 last time I checked. I like the under in this one, to be honest with everybody.
Yeah.
I think this is a bounce back game for the Bucs defense, especially with them getting healthy on that side of the ball. And the Saints, you got to tip your cap to them, have always been an issue for the Bucs.
They really have.
Defensively. And they're great in the red zone in preventing teams from scoring touchdowns. So, take a little peek at Chase McLaughlin and his field goals today, because I think that's going to be one of the biggest things that you'll find.
Yeah, I'm with you, Matt. And when you look at Dennis Allen, the Saints play caller, head coach, I don't care if it was Bruce Arians or Dave Canales last year, or maybe even Liam Cohen this year, he seems to have the Bucs number in terms of their points. I mean, Tampa Bay put up 24 points, 26 points last year in New Orleans, but that was because of there was a fumble right before halftime that Antoine Winfield Jr. Forced and recovered right down there by the goal line that allowed the Bucs to get a touchdown. Trey Palmer caught a touchdown in that game, but other than that, I mean, you look back at last year, Tampa Bay was on the verge of clinching the NFC South title at home on New Year's Eve against the Saints. And the Saints went in there and dominated the trenches, got up 20 points. It held on for, I think, a 23-13 win. So I'm with you. I think this is going to be more of a low-scoring game. I'd be surprised if either team reaches 30. But I'm expecting Tampa Bay to come out on top. Matter of fact, the entire Pewter Report staff has the Bucs winning today. So yeah, we'll see if it's like the Falcons game where we all picked the Buccaneers to win, and of course they lost. But we got a super chat to kick things off today, Matt.
Yes, we do. Thank you to Easy the Great with this $4.99 super chat. As they say, there isn't a team, an organization I hate more than the Saints. Mike Evans versus Marshawn Lattimore is always a must-see matchup. Antoine Winfield Jr. and Kalijah Kancey back are huge for this defense. Yeah, I mean, especially in the past 4 or 5 years, like Bucs Saints has been the best rivalry in the NFC South. Now, they've been the two teams kind of lobbying for playoff positioning and the division over that time. But yeah, there's always a little extra juice when it's Bucs versus Saints, and particularly when it's in New Orleans, in my opinion. So love a good rivalry. I think maybe the Bucs could use the spark after, having so much time off and losing against the Falcons. So yeah, let's see some bad blood today. Like, no one get ejected like Mike Evans a couple of years ago. Nobody take a stupid penalty that might cost them 15 yards for unsportsmanlike. But yeah, I want to see some jawing, some chirping, and players going back and forth.
Yeah, for sure. And this has been a good matchup because Marshawn Lattimore, I'm not taking anything away from him. He's a damn good player. But I think the injuries have taken a little bit of toll on him throughout the years. And I'm not sure if he is quite at the level that he was when he and Mike Evans would go to toe-to-toe, and Evans would win some, and Lattimore would win some as well. I expect Mike to win this battle today. Matter of fact, I'm looking more forward to, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in the preview, the matchups, I should say. But Alontae Taylor versus Chris Godwin, I think this is going to be just as intriguing. Alontae Taylor is a very physical player.
Yeah.
And so I'm really expecting both of these wide receivers, Tampa Bay, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, to not struggle, but it's not going to be an easy day for either one of these guys. Paulson Adebo is also a capable corner as well. They've got their starting safety for the Saints, Will Harris, out. But they do have Tyrann Mathieu, who has been a little bit of a thorn in the side for the Buccaneers. So this should be a good, low-scoring, defensive-type struggle is what I'm expecting. And of course, you like the head-to-head matchup, right, with Baker Mayfield going up against Spencer Rattler. Matt, we had a chance to see Spencer Rattler at the Senior Bowl, and it's a little surprising that he fell to the 5th round because I thought that the Senior Bowl would give him a little bit of momentum. But you know how it is with quarterbacks. Not every team needs a quarterback. Not every team wants to spend high draft capital on a backup quarterback, right, if they already have a capable starter. But Spencer Rattler was a player who really went to the Senior Bowl, and the headliners were supposed to be Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr., and they were the headliners. But Rattler really outperformed both of them, and neither one played in the game. I think Nix might have played in the game. I know Penix didn't. But Rattler ended up becoming the Senior Bowl MVP in the game.
Yeah, Rattler was one of the guys that really boosted his stock by going to the Senior Bowl and performing well. And, the Senior Bowl, while it's a lot of fun, we go every year. It's a great time. It's not the end-all, be-all of, hey, we're going to draft this guy. We're not going to draft this guy based on, 2 days of practice with teammates he's never had before. But, yeah, I mean, he definitely – I think not the motto, but the overall thought process on Spencer Rattler, I think, changed based on his performance at the Senior Bowl, because before it was like, he's a guy that couldn't get it to work at Oklahoma, and he went to South Carolina, but what can we really gain from that? And then you see it up close in person, and it helped him to a degree, I think. So we'll see what he brings today. I'm intrigued to watch a rookie. All rookie quarterbacks, it's fascinating in of itself, but like a late round guy that gets this opportunity, see what he makes of it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Well, let's go ahead and start digging into our key matchups to watch, and we'll start with the Bucs offense. They're going to need to get the scoring up in the second half, especially to finish games. That you saw a fantastic start for both Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield in Atlanta. 2 touchdowns to Mike Evans, 3 total for Baker Mayfield, but no touchdowns could be found in the second half for Tampa Bay. That proved to be the Bucs' undoing. Unfortunately, only 2 field goals. But we're going to start off with Luke Gedeke getting his first action since week 1, going up against Carl Granderson, who's going to see some time on both sides against Tristan Wirfs and Luke Gedeke. But Carl Granderson has 3 sacks this year. He is the second leading sacker on the Saints. Actually has more sacks than either Cam Jordan or Chase Young, believe it or not. Chase Young did have a sack on Monday night against Patrick Mahomes, but Carl Granderson's a high motor, high energy, physical player, kind of the player that they wanted Marcus Davenport to be. Davenport left and went to the Lions. But how do you see this matchup here between Granderson, kind of an underrated player, but I think he had 8.5 sacks last year, versus Gedeke in his first game back, man?
Yeah, we have to take into account that Gedeke has, missed every game since after playing in week 1. He's coming back from a concussion. He's coming into a loud environment in New Orleans. There might be some communication issues early on. So if this was Gedeke after playing for a full month and kind of, getting into the flow of things and a rhythm of things as it goes into the season, I may have a different opinion on this. But because of that, Granderson's one of the best pass rushers on this Saints team. He does some really good things. He's a little underrated, like you were talking about. So I'm going to take Granderson in this matchup based on kind of Gedeke needing to knock off a little bit of the rust.
I think that's fair. I'm going to go with the push. I'm going to give Luke, the lifter, a little bit of a push here. And I think that he's going to really want to bring it. He's chomped at the bit to play. He hates the Saints. So I'm going to give him some respect, and I'm going to go with the push here. I think Granderson might win some early reps because he's in game speed, and it might take Gedeke, a series or two to kind of find his footing. But this is going to be a push. Speaking of push, as in push and shove,
hey,
Mike Evans, Marshon Lattimore. This has been a battle and a fight at times between these two. Let's just go right to it, Matt. Who do you like in this one? Mike Evans, the GOAT, or Marshon Lattimore?
I have to go with Mike.
Yeah.
Like you said, he's the GOAT. He gets up for these type of matchups. I think with how the Saints are going to defend Chris Godwin, we'll talk about him in a moment, but how they're going to defend Chris Godwin, I think plays a lot into the involvement of Mike Evans. And Liam Cohen again said this week, we're going to get Mike Evans involved early in this one. And I think they're going to take advantage of some one-on-one matchups. And it doesn't matter if Lattimore is guarding Mike Evans. You got Mike Evans in one-on-one, I'm going to take him pretty much every single time. So I'll go with Mike Evans.
I am too. Just hope that Mike can keep his temperature in check. there's a brouhaha from a couple years ago when Evans really got into it with Marcus May and Marshon Lattimore and all of that. And for whatever reason, Matt, like you said, it always seems to happen in New Orleans. Mike has his temper under control at home. This is a different environment. I'm still gonna give this to Mike because I just think he's playing better football right now than Marshon Lattimore, and getting him involved early, getting him in rhythm, I think is a big key to him winning this matchup. So I'm going to go with Mike. Cody Mauch versus Brian Bresee, the Saints defensive tackle. He's kind of their designated pass rusher, if you will. He's in there in nickel situations. And Cody Mauch has struggled a little bit this year. Really hasn't made that big jump that I suspected he might make. I think he's improved, but the consistency down in and down out still isn't there. And you look at the fact that they've got Kalen Saunders, who is a little bit of a whirling dervish in there. Nathan Shepard, another bigger body. That's not the same Saints defensive lineman. They used to have David Onyemata, years ago. Shai Tuttle, they're both gone. But Brian Bresee is a player that really is coming on as a pass rusher. He's going to, I think, give Cody Mauch a handful.
Yeah, I'm going with Bresee in this one. I have my concerns about Cody Mauch. I'm not ready to, panic just yet. And he doesn't lose every rep. It's just the reps that he does lose look pretty bad. Cody Mauch's kind of been a microcosm of, like, in a separate way, how the Bucs defense can look at times, where the Bucs defense typically is good and solid, but when it's bad, it's like, out of this world, terrible. Yeah. And that's kind of what we've seen with Cody Mauch when it comes specifically to his pass blocking. So we're not seeing that development totally yet with Cody Mauch. Again, I'm not ready to totally panic about it just yet. But for this matchup, again, on the road, I'll take Bresee.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. I want to be a Cody Mauch believer. I got to see it. And I don't know that he's put together like that game start to finish where you feel really good about him really taking steps forward. And it's something, he's making a jump from North Dakota State to the NFL. Yeah. He's worked on his body. He's gotten stronger this year, but the technique is still a little wild. And unless he reins it in, this team might have to look at maybe Elijah Klein competing with Cody Mauch next year for the starting guard job, or go out and draft another guard to throw in there and give him some competition. But there's somebody right now who's competing at a very high level, and that's Chris Godwin in a contract year, leading this team in catches and yards and almost touchdowns. I mean, if not for Mike Evans, 5 touchdowns to start the season. Evans is on a record pace right now, getting to the end zone. Still has a ways to go to be on pace to get 1,000 yards, but Chris Godwin sure is. And those 3 touchdowns already are a very good sign because he only had 2 last year. How do you see this matchup against maybe one of the best nickelbacks in the league in Alontae Taylor?
A lot of me wants to take Taylor for everything that we spoke about with him during the week about he's a dude. He's so versatile to the Saints and what he can do. He's great in the slot. But at the same time, Chris Godwin has given us no reason to doubt him or think that he is incapable of winning a big time matchup. I mean, he's pretty much done everything that Bucs fans have wanted and have asked for Chris Godwin,
Yeah.
especially in a contract year. He's top 10 in receiving. I think he's 7th right now. That may have changed with the Thursday night game a little bit, but he's in the top 10 in receiving. He's scoring more, and he's just so involved. They're getting him the ball with the screen. He's doing it down the field. He had the big touchdown in Detroit. So I'm going to go with a push just based on both of these players going at a high level so far early in the season.
I think that's fair. I'm going to go with the push as well. I'm going to give Volontae Taylor his respect. He forced a fumble at Kansas City on Monday Night Football. That's the second forced fumble of the year. He also has 3.5 sacks, Matt. He had 3 sacks in that season opening win over Bryce Young and the Panthers. He is the actual leading sacker in New Orleans right now with 3.5. Carl Granderson right behind him with 3. But I'm going to go with the push as well. And then Baker Mayfield versus Demario Davis. Demario Davis is a guy that will line up in the A-gap, and he'll come. He'll blitz. Yeah. He'll also drop in coverage. He's still getting it done, almost like Levante David as a guy in his approaching mid-30s. And he's really the quarterback of that defense. So Demario Davis goes, so goes the Saints defense. They're not going to have Pete Werner today. I think Werner at this stage is probably their best linebacker, but him not being available today hurts them just like it hurt them on Monday night against Kansas City. But this is going to be a little bit of a chess match here between Baker Mayfield, the signal caller for the Bucs offense, and Demario Davis, the signal caller for the Saints defense. Who do you like in this one?
I'm such a big fan of Demario Davis, and at the same time, Baker Mayfield has been playing at a close to MVP conversation type of performance throughout this year. So I'm going to go with a push. However, what I will say about Baker is we're not there yet, and I hope we don't get to this point, but we do have to question a little bit, like, what kind of Baker are we getting? Are we getting first half Baker against Atlanta, or are we getting second half Baker against Atlanta? And for the most part this season, he's been the consistent player that we've wanted, that he's talked about a lot as well. I hope he continues the fast start, but can string it along to the second half as well. But like I said, I like Demario Davis a lot. He does so much for the Saints defense. So I'll take a push.
I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield in this one. I like what I see so far with that touchdown to interception ratio. 11 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. Right now, Demario Davis starting to show that age a little bit. He's still got it. He's got 29 tackles on the year. That's second, tied with Alante Taylor in terms of the tackle total for the Saints, just behind Paulson Adebo at 36. He does have a sack, but he's getting up there at age 35, and I think he's starting to slow down a little bit. I believe that Baker Mayfield is going to make amends for that second half. I think he's going to come out firing, and I don't think he's going to stop firing throughout this game. I think we're going to see a good Baker Mayfield for all 4 quarters, and that's going to spell doom for the Saints at the end. The great thing about game days is not just the fact that the Buccaneers are playing at 1 o'clock today, but you got plenty of time to get to walk-ons. And walk-ons, as you might know by now, one of our sponsors here at Pewter Report, a great place to go to watch football and have some fun and great food and drinks, specials as well on game days. But they're owned by Drew Brees, former Saints. And, this is a game that's going to be in New Orleans. And you might remember back in 2020 when he got retired by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that NFC divisional playoff game. Matter of fact, his last pass was to Mike Edwards, Buccaneer safety. So here's Drew Brees talking about all the great food you can find at Walk-Ons.
Game day at Walk-Ons is just different. And it starts with the way our teammates prep each dish from our scratch menu. No shortcuts. We are hand-cutting every single mozzarella log straight from the block. Hand-peeling, stuffing, and bacon wrapping each voodoo shrimp. Hand-carving ribeyes for our steaks and po' boys. And hand-slicing, then tossing our boneless wings and our house-made sauces. With wall-to-wall TVs and food like this, why would you want to watch anywhere else? That's game day. The Walk-Ons way.
I don't know about you, Matt, but I really like restaurant owner Drew Brees a hell of a lot more than I like the Saints quarterback Drew Brees, right?
I agree.
Game day specials are at Walk-Ons. 3 Tampa Bay area locations to serve you. the Wesley Chapel location up here by my neck of the woods, across the street from the Outlet Mall up here, just off 75. The Midtown Tampa location down there by Matt, by the stadium, and then also in Lakeland. Game day specials, Saturdays and Sundays. Make Saturdays and Sundays your place to go to walk-ons to watch college football and pro football. $4.49 pints, 22-ounce pours, $5.99 Michelob Ultra, Bud Light, and Budweiser. $5 Heineken Silver, 12-ounce cans, $5 neutral assorted flavors. And then, of course, the best happy hour you're going to find in Tampa starts tomorrow. Hopefully it's a Victory Monday. 3 p.m. to close. How about that? You can watch Monday Night Football at Walk-Ons and get some fantastic drink and food specials. Remember, Tuesday, all-day happy hour, including $5 Tito's. And then, of course, Wednesday and Thursday, you get 2 shots at happy hour, 3 p.m. to 6 and 9 p.m. to close. It's a great place to go to watch Thursday Night Football as well. And then Friday from 3 to 6. So make sure you're going to Walk-Ons to watch your football and get your food on. It's a fantastic place. And I love the mozzarella logs there, man. They're one of the best appetizers you can find. They're huge. The marinara is great. Just a great menu at Walk-Ons.
No doubt about it. Let's get to these defensive matchups, starting out with the Bucs defensive tackles, the newly replenished defensive line with defensive tackles, going up against the Saints interior offensive line. Scott, who do you have in this one?
You know, this is really interesting because the Saints interior offensive line, they're going to be without Cesar Ruiz again, their right guard. They're down to their fourth center if Lucas Patrick doesn't play. Eric McCoy is their top center, and he's on injured reserve. Shane Lemieux, the backup, he's on injured reserve. Lucas Patrick got the start last Monday night. He's their third string center. He injured his chest and did not practice all week. He's listed as questionable. Matt, if he doesn't go, they're down to Connor McGovern, their fourth string center. That's crazy, right? The Bucs will be without Graham Barton today, their own center, but they have Robert Hainsey, an experienced guy who's won twice in New Orleans as a starter. But man, you've got Logan Hall, Vita Vea, Kalijah Kancey. I just don't see how Tampa Bay's interior defensive tackles don't dominate the trenches, stuff the run, stuff Alvin Kamara, and then get to Spencer Rattler today. I like this group to collectively have 3 sacks, whether it's one apiece for Kalijah and Vita and Logan, or somebody gets 2. But between those 3 defensive tackles, I like 3 sacks from that group.
Right. It's the cavalry of these defensive tackles. You know, even a backup offensive lineman can have a good game or a good afternoon, whatever it is. I mean, we saw Justin School. I know he's a tackle, and we're talking about the interior here, but Justin School was able to pick it up after a while, and he was a backup. Now Luke Gedecke's back. So, the Saints, maybe they would have a good moment against Vita Vea, but the fact that it's Vita, it's Kalijah Kancey, it's also Logan Hall, I don't know how they can tame all 3 of those guys, and really Vea and Kancey specifically. I'm hoping Hall continues what he has been doing, but I'm not banking on it as much as, Kalijah Kancey kind of making his impact and Vita Vea. So it's got to be the Bucs defensive tackles in that one. The next matchup was Yaya Diaby against Trevor Penning. Penning has been in the league for a little bit now since the Saints drafted him. I think has moved around a bit as well on that O-line. What do you think of Yaya Diaby against him?
Looks a lot better at right tackle than he does at left tackle. He just was like a fish out of water at left tackle. And then Ryan Ramczyk, of course, the Saints stalwart at right tackle, might not play again. He's got a serious injury. He's been out the entire year. His career is in jeopardy as he's in his 30s now. So Penning looks like a different player at right tackle, almost like Luke Gedecke, right? Where he was a left guard, looked like a fish out of water. You moved to right tackle, which is kind of his home base. And Gedecke looks like a star right tackle. And kind of the same thing for Penning. He's played better football at right tackle. Yaya Diaby is 7th in the league in pressures. That's a good thing. The sacks, he only has 1, but he's got 24 pressures. The next most pressures in Tampa Bay is Vita Vea with 11. So you can see that Yaya Diaby's been getting to the quarterback. Go back to that interception that Kirk Cousins threw on 4th and 15. Yaya had a hand right in his face. It forced Cousins to take a little bit off the football. I like Yaya Diaby to pick up a sack in New Orleans today against Trevor Penning. I think the athleticism is going to be the winning ingredient here for Diaby. He's got that inside move, and I think he's going to get a sack going inside against Spencer Rattler. So I like Diaby in this one.
Yeah, having Cansey back, one thing that the Bucs like doing with Yaya and Kalijah Cansey specifically is kind of having them stunt and twist, or having Cansey loop to the outside and Yaya goes on the inside.
Yeah.
Yaya's been consistent this year with the pressures. The sacks haven't totally come just yet, so he's due. And because of that, I'm going to take Yaya Diaby.
I'm with you. I like that tandem we see. Todd Bowles and Casey Rogers line those guys up on the same side to really take advantage of offensive linemen and get to the quarterback.
An interesting matchup here, the Bucs inside linebackers, and which inside linebackers will play, we don't necessarily know, besides Lavonte David, until kickoff gets going. But the Bucs inside linebackers facing Alvin Kamara. Scott, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I've tried to kind of pry a little bit and find out what the Bucs game plan is, if they're going to stick with KJ Britt for the entire game as they did up in Atlanta at inside linebacker, or if they're going to platoon J.J. Russell or Antonio Greer, or if they're going to go to a dime defense to get Britt off the field, because it's not just Kamara running the ball, it's getting Kamara out in space in the screen game, running some Texas routes, some wheel routes that will get him matched up on a linebacker, whether that's the aging Lavonte David or KJ Britt or J.J. Russell, or maybe a dime defender. We're not exactly sure. Mm-hmm. This is me being a defensive guy. I'm going to be really interested to see how Todd Bowles attacks this. I think that on Thursday night, Matt, with just 2 walkthrough practices and not having Winfield, they were a little limited with what they could do in terms of attacking the Falcons. Todd Bowles did not want to match up KJ Britt in man coverage against Tyler Algier, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts. I get that. But it forced him to kind of play handcuffed a little bit to that predictable soft zone spot drop linebacker situation that Kirk Cousins ultimately carved up. So I'm going to be very interested to see. Alvin Kamara is playing at a different level this year. 388 yards rushing, over 4 yards a carry, 5 rushing touchdowns. I'm actually going to go with Alvin Kamara against the Bucs inside linebackers. They had a rough game against the Falcons. I think that kind of continues today. I think Kamara has a chance to go off because they're going to have to feed him, right? I mean, you got a rookie quarterback
with Rattler for sure.
He's got to be Superman for the Saints today, and I think he'll come close to it.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one with Kamara. Just to me, it doesn't matter whether it's KJ Britt going the whole time or if they platoon KJ Britt with JJ Russell or Antonio Greer. Either way, Kamara is one of the best at doing this. That's why I said Rachaad White might be a future Alvin Kamara, because he's kind of paved the way for a running back that, yes, you want him to be good at running the football, and Kamara has this season, but his most effectiveness when playing football is as a receiver, and he's got a nose for the end zone. So I think this is probably the diciest matchup for the Bucs defense today, is kind of how they go about covering Alvin Kamara. Yeah. So I'll take him. Next up, the Bucs safeties against tight end Juwan Johnson. Again, the newly healthy Bucs safety. So we're talking Antoine Winfield Jr. and Jordan Whitehead against Juwan Johnson. Scott.
Yeah, Juwan Johnson really kind of, he didn't burst on the scene. He was a good player before, but it kind of gets overshadowed with Taysom Hill. But Hill's going to be out again. And I think that was the case in week 17 last year when Juwan Johnson erupted for 8 catches and 90 yards and a touchdown, including a big 32-yard catch and run against the Buccaneers in that win in Tampa for the Saints. Foster Moreau's also another guy to keep an eye on. He had a touchdown catch at Kansas City. So the Saints still have 2 kind of sneaky tight ends that don't get a lot of pub and acclaim, but they're both very good. And I think Juwan Johnson has the Bucs' attention. I do like Jordan Whitehead and Antoine Winfield Jr. in this matchup, Matt, just because there's not going to be a surprise this time, right? Juwan Johnson got him last time with the big game. He's on the Bucs' radar. I don't think they're going to allow him to go off today.
Yeah, I mean, when you have an all-pro safety returning and another strong safety that kind of sets the tempo in terms of physicality and things of that nature, and who has improved as a cover safety in this league, I know Juwan Johnson has had his moments, but I mean, who are you really taking over Antoine Winfield Jr.? No one. So I'll go with the Bucs safeties. Last but certainly not least, a very intriguing matchup here. The Bucs corners, Zion McCollum and Jamel Dean, against wide receivers Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. Definitely a dangerous bunch, Scott. So how do you see it?
Yeah, Rashid Shaheed. I mean, listen, the reason why the Saints are starting Rattler today over Jake Haener is because of Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave. Both of those guys can go deep. With Rattler, he's got the stronger arm. He's got a live arm that can push the ball down the field. Look no further than last year at South Carolina, throwing the deep balls to Xavier Legette, who wound up being the first pick by the Carolina Panthers at the top of the second round. So this is a something that the Saints didn't really have at the end of that game once Derek Carr went out with Jake Haener. He's just not a guy that has a big enough arm to push the ball down the field. There's a vertical element to the Saints passing attack. And for Jamel Dean, this is going to be a big game. Can he do what he did a couple of years ago? Not just get one interception, but two. I think the Bucs would be happy with one. I know Jamel would be happy with one. It's been a long time since he got an interception. And I think the last time it happened, Matt, was in New Orleans, was it not? He's gone over a year without an interception. This is going to be a push for me. I think Tampa Bay is going to play some soft zone. It's going to be a little maddening because they're not going to want to have Rashid Shaheed, Chris Olave make those deep throws, or I should say the deep catches, and put points on the board right away. I'm going to say it's a push. I like Zion McCollum. I believe in him. Jamel, I want to believe in him. But I'm going to give these guys some credit here, too. Shaheed has developed into one heck of a deep threat, and Olave is and he's a 1,000-yard receiver for a reason. He's good.
Shaheed, the Bucs have done a good job containing him overall since he's been in the league in his career with the Saints, but this is truly his breakout year. So I don't know how much you can kind of look at the history of the Bucs against Rashid Shaheed. I do know this season he's had touchdowns of 43, 53, and I believe 72. So we're talking about a dangerous player. At the same time, we know Todd Bowles fears giving up the big play. So I feel better about Zion McCollum against Chris Olave than I do with Jamel Dean and Rashid Shaheed. Dean has been beat a couple of times this year. Like even that Eagles game, there was one overthrow. Yeah. Or maybe it was it may have been Washington that first game where Dean was beat, but it was an overthrow on the play. Then he had that moment in Detroit. He also had that moment against the Broncos. So Dean has played fine, but you got to keep that in the back of your head a little bit. So I'll take a push because of it, because I do like the Bucs corners, but the Saints receivers are not to be messed with or taken lightly.
Exactly. If you're joining the show late, just before we let you go here, just a quick rundown on what we know about the injury situation. Rachaad White is out today, and Bucky Irving will be the starter. Sean Tucker will be the second running back. DJ Williams, who is a rookie undrafted free agent from Arizona, will be the third running back. He's on the practice squad. He's a practice squad elevation. They also elevated yesterday Ryan Miller, the wide receiver, to give them a little bit more depth at receiver because Trey Palmer will be out today, as well as Cam Johnson. So Tampa Bay's wide receiving core will be Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Jalen McMillan is expected to play, but he does have that hamstring injury. That's something to keep an eye on. Sterling Shepard might actually get the start at wide receiver 3, and McMillan might be on a bit of a pitch count. Then they elevated Ryan Miller to have 5 wide receivers up. Robert Hainsey will be your starting center. Graham Barton is out, missed the entire week of practice with a hamstring injury. And it's curious when that hamstring injury happened, Matt, because Barton really had his worst game as an NFL player in all of his starts at Atlanta. And I wonder if that's an injury that happened early in the game or late in the game, how much it affected his play. He did have that holding call on that last offensive drive, which was costly, knocked the Bucs back out of field goal range. So Robert Hainsey, who is 2-0 in New Orleans as a starter in that building, will be the starting center today. Say what you want about Hainsey. He is one of the more experienced, better backup centers in the league. And I think the Buccaneers are fortunate to have him. He's in a contract year, right? He's only had one offensive snap this year. That came as an extra tackle in a jumbo package against the Broncos in week 3. He's in a contract year. This is his opportunity. Might be his only opportunity this year to get out there and play and show some team, either Tampa Bay or another team, that he's worth signing and worth investing in free agency next year. So he's going to be your starting center today.
Yeah, and we'll see how he looks and how the Bucs look today. We'll be reacting to it live on the Pewter Game Day show with myself and Josh Capo, T-Kraz from The Drive and the Overtime Show will be joining us later on as well. But that all starts at 1 o'clock on our YouTube channel on pewterreport.com. You can see it on all of our social media as well. So if you haven't already followed our social media, we are at Pewter Report on X, Facebook, and Instagram. And our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. So please like and subscribe, leave a comment as well. And we're very interactive with the Pewter Game Day show. So, we'll get to many comments as well. So it should be
Matt,
a lot of fun.
it's so much fun on game days because we have Pewter pregame early at 9. And if you missed the show, if you missed the live show, you can always catch it archived up until kickoff on Pewter Report TV, our YouTube channel, which also streams live on X and Facebook. And that's the same for Pewter Game Day. So you can catch it on Pewter Report TV. You can also watch it on Facebook at Pewter Report or on X at Pewter Report. It live streams there as well. So lots of great ways for you to check out Matt and Josh at 1 o'clock. And then Matt and I are going to be back right after the game for our Pewter Report post-game podcast. So win or lose, we want to see you there. We love your interactions, your comments, your questions. It just makes game day so much fun, having the interaction with you guys, the Pewter people. Absolutely love you guys. And this should be one heck of a game, Matt. I'm really excited. As excited as I was for that Bucs-Falcons game, there's nothing like this divisional rivalry, Bucs and Saints. These two teams hate each other. I think the Bucs are the better team. They got to get there and improve it today.
Yeah, looking forward to it, and it's coming soon. So until 1 o'clock, for Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks, everybody, for watching, and we will talk to you soon for the Pewter Game Day show and another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.